What's up guys, the Strong Boys 19 here and welcome to my very first album review for new albums in 2023. I'm not going to go as crazy when I reviewed a lot of albums from last year and that I have listened to close to 50 albums from 22, but I would like to pace myself this time and review albums that I do like to review. And since that we are now close to the end of January of 23, this album was released just recently, and what could be better for me to start the new album reviews of new material than to talk about this new album from bands that I did discover recently as well, a band called Ladytron, with the new album entitled Time's Arrow. This is a band that was formed in Liverpool back in the late 90s, and from what I did research is that their earlier albums can be really drenched into this synthwave poppy aesthetics, but in later albums they were making it so consistent that they decided to blend in some more experimentalism and to make Ladytron a pretty diverse band. So I have heard really good things about Ladytron from quite a lot of people actually, and for any Ladytron fans out there, please let me know which album from them is your favourite, because I would like to dive into this band's discography now that I have listened to this album, so that this was my introduction and beginning to check out this band's music. This album is 40 minutes in its length, and this is a really positive and optimistic, ethereal sounding album, because this whole premise of the album's sound was incredibly lush. It was so huge from the way the album sounds, and you can definitely feel the delivery into like a different spectrum to what Ladytron had used to do previously on their earlier albums. But I haven't heard a lot of the other stuff earlier on in their discography yet, so that's why let me know which one is your favorite for me to check out. The first track on the album, City of Angels, synthy chords that were beautifully placed with the reverb-coloured vocals, and the reverb does remain very consistent on this whole album here. The beat does make the classic new wave type of sound that's incredibly effective. It's a musical piece that did create a memorable moment from the structure, the moment I listened to the track. The melody was really good at first, to then it becomes so consistently repeating, but in a brilliant way. The music of the soul of the song was so admiring, and it is a great start to begin this album. Faces is probably one of my highest favorites on this album. The different changes from the chords were as prominent, and the mood was alike to the previous track, City of Angels, but I love the diversity from the changes of the chords surrounding this very intriguing amount of hooks. And the mood was so positive, and it breathes with beautiful soundscapes and magical textures from the mixing on the production. It's a brilliant song, which is a favourite for me from the start to the finish. Misery, Remember Me. The drums do pop in first, and they make this playful rhythm section, and the electronics of the notes were driving this progressive greatness. I think this is another strong highlight of this album. The clean high vocals were as big and gently casting out this wonderful tone, and I really enjoy the sound of the vocals here, and as well as the rest of this record's own premise. The beats did make some kind of a trippy vibe, while these noises around the song create a wall of sound. It was incredibly delivered perfectly. Flights from Anchor, a sinister and deeper mode from the pacing of the instrumentation, but what works out so well here was the various effects from the instruments and buzzying sounding bass notes. And not gonna lie, when I listen to this track, it definitely makes me think about like the second half of David Bowie's classic album of Low. But with that being said, this has a repetitive formula. I do dig this one so much. You can hear some moments on a few ghostly high notes and to terrific guitar licks to accomplish the main source from its material. We never went away. The atmosphere to this song was really strong here. It sounds icy and cold as they switched key and tunings were presentable all along this wide and irresistible quality. I do love this one when the journey of the track does continue to grow and mesmerize from its expression. It does confidently build a spacey and ambient flavor which sounds just as gorgeous. The Night, a quick form of energy of this one. I do admire the catchy beat at the beginning. The melody was awesome to the background chords that they do follow the vocals together separate as you listen to the later places of the instrumentation later on. The chorus was excellent, and this is like on a positive matter from the overall emotion of it. The Dreamers is personally my least favourite on this album. Futuristic vision, and the passion is high, and it's incredibly visible that you would think about other bands when you listen to this style of music, like I've said, Kraftwerk, and then to New Order. The structure is decent, but it doesn't follow up a lot of the goodness like what most of this album does, but it is a pretty solid track overall. Sargasso Sea. This is the most experimental song. It's kind of making me think of what Björk did from her heyday, from her classic albums back in the late 90s, or mid-90s I should say, to the early 2000s, like with Post, Vespertine, and Homogenic. But with that being said, I like the mellow and soft, ethereal vision surrounding this tonality. At the same time, it's pretty psychedelic from what was going on here within these ideas of musical fruition that has been in here throughout the track's entirety. It's like a mainly instrumental song, and you can barely hear a lot of the vocals, so they were like placed in at the background, but this is one of my other favorites. California, which is one of the tracks that did come out prior to this album's release. This is on a minor setting and eases into the gentleness, padded drums that add a calm flow into the verse sections, and the delay placements were really sweet from the mixing. This free, long-going vocals go on into the chorus. Then you hear these, I think, phaser effect drenching guitar solos that kind of makes me think on a bit of a shoegaze vibe, maybe something from Slowdive as an example. A wicked chemistry on its clean harmonies complement the piece. A really nice song. And the album concludes with the title track Time's Arrow, a jumpy, upbeat shuffle hook, and this continues its balance while these effects were bursting and popping in. I think this was involving a lot more of the connection into vocal harmonies, and they make a nice changeable accompaniment, more guitars effects and less of the keyboards, but they still add in their own touches. Still sounds warm and cozy, does make the drums and reverb so prominent. Overall, Time's Arrow by Ladytron is a wonderful album. If I have a bit of a gripe, besides what I said about Dreamers earlier on, it does get not as, incredibly variety driven. So it does get repetitive, but with that being said, I am thoroughly impressed and really did like what I was listening to from this album. Time's Arrow by Ladytron, I think got warmer reviews over time, and I am glad that the album did exactly have that positive reception from the fans. And let me know what you think of this album in the comments down below. I'm going to give Time's Arrow by Ladytron an 8.5 out of 10. Thank you guys for watching, and I will keep you guys posted for more videos in the near future.